Howdy, everyone. Nice. We got a few more people joining in here. Can't wait for today's masterclass. I'm just getting a few documents real fast that I can share with you in the background here. So give me just 1 second. We will get started. So I'm going to drop these Google documents for you guys inside of the chat box here. So you guys can also feel free to watch as we edit these documents. But today is going to be fairly simple, nothing earth-shattering, but something that is super, super important for most of our employers, and it's in a lot of our job descriptions, is using email management. So email management, if I'm being completely honest with everybody, is the absolute hardest thing to get outsourced. And it's also the most effective thing to outsource, because any business book you guys read, you know, especially the 4-Hour Work Week, if you guys have never read that, I would highly suggest that you guys read it. The 4-Hour Work Week talks about how email robs us of almost everything in our business when we spend too much time in it. So today I want to show you guys kind of how we teach our team to do email management and kind of some of the different tools and systems that we use to do it as well. So now this obviously can be for, as a virtual assistant, you may be working for more than one person on a team. You might be handling multiple people. Maybe you're just handling one. Maybe you're handling the email account for somebody, or maybe you're just, you know, managing your own, like you have like an admin at JustinNelsonTeam.com. And so it really just depends. We see two types of things. You're either managing your own email, or they're having you manage their email. So we're going to kind of walk through managing someone else's email today. I'm going to put coffee in my system or something like that. And feel free to jump in, guys, if you guys have any questions, or would love your guys' feedback on the email management side of things. So the very first thing that I am going to start with is I'm going to open up one of my email accounts, and I'm going to kind of show you guys one of my clean ones versus one of my non-clean ones, so you guys can all kind of see what's going on in here. Let me just make sure real fast that I don't have any emails that I don't want anybody to read. I think I should be good, but give me just 1 second. Make sure there's nothing private in here. No, all looks good. All right, so I'm going to share my screen with you guys real fast. And so if you guys see my screen, what you're going to be looking at is what I consider a super messy email account. So for most of you guys, what it's going to be is most of you guys are going to have into the thousands, you know, 20,000, 10,000, 1,000. Maybe you're one of the rarities that has it down to 0. But what's really cool is we're going to show you guys some ways to get around this. So before we kind of even dive into best practices, we do something that a lot of us, if we've worked in the corporate world before, we've heard of, and it's called site mapping. And so site mapping is something that will usually take about 30 minutes to do. And it's something where I really suggest you as the employer, you're the one that builds the site maps for your team. And so I'm going to take you guys through a very simplistic site mapping, and then this site mapping form is something that I will edit as the employer over time, and I will share with my virtual assistant so they know how to manage my email. So if you guys are looking at this, what all site mapping is, and a lot of people call it just file management, is when you look at the email, you want to see what are our tabs going to be over here, right? Like what are the tabs, what goes in each tab. We're basically making rules for these different tabs, and we're making a little bit of a deeper explanation for those. And so what I do personally is we'll kind of start off with the most important things. So number one is I'm going to start off with my personal life. Now, obviously a lot of us are using work emails for this, But the biggest thing that I'm going to start off with, and again, these are all just suggestions in theory and best practices. I just want to show you what I do, and then you guys can obviously replicate it based on what you do. So if I were to start off with personal, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a personal folder. So that would look something like on the left side here. That would look something like Sphere Rocket VA. It's going to be the main folder. So that would be like personal, and then we're going to put everything else below it that needs to go. So for me, and I usually dictate colors, I'm a little bit of an OCD freak when it comes to this, but I'm going to dictate the personal. Then from there, I'm going to think of what all could I possibly ever get an email about in my personal life. So for me, I travel a ton. So I'm going to go, I need a folder just for travel, right? And then I'm going to go, awesome. I also need a folder for those bills that come in, because some of my home bills, I'm going to specifically label this home/personal bills, right? And then I'm also going to usually create a folder called random personal. This is stuff that's maybe not like, we don't really know where to categorize. It could be I bought tickets to a sporting event and it just came into my email. I want to put it there. And then, for example, I might do something like this where it's family members. Again, some of you guys won't need it to this extent depending on what you use your email for, but I'm thinking back to anything that might come into my email address and where would I want to find it. Now, the key here is you don't want to think of 100 situations. Like you don't want to put like, and this is where a lot of people make this mistake, emails from my mom, for example. Like it sounds like a funny example, but some people overdo their file management, and I get one email a year from my mom. It's really confusing to have another folder for one email. So we will categorize some of that and kind of get it down. So let's just say that that was your personal, maybe you have some rental property, different things like that. And then, so what I'm going to do from there is I'm sorry for having a little chopped of words here. I like to make this as clear as possible, because once I make this, I want my virtual assistant to go and implement it. I'm going to then go, awesome. So I took care of my personal life. Now I'm going to take care of business number one. And so for me, that is Sphere Rocket VA. And so what I'll do in here is I'll basically do the same thing. I'm going to go, what kind of emails do I get from Sphere Rocket? Well, every business has lead generation emails, right? So these are emails from clients that are like, hey, Justin, I have a referral from you or for you, or hey, I want another VA, or these different things. And so when my VAs are cleaning my inbox, I want them to obviously put them in these things. So if I want to go back and go, oh man, I haven't been doing a good job following up, where are all the referrals or where are all my possible transactions? I'd go look in the lead generation emails. Then obviously every business has, like financial bills or so. For me, I do Sphere Rocket bills, or a lot of people call it Sphere Rocket receipts, because a lot of you guys are probably like me. Every single month you get your receipts kind of on auto repeat. So yeah, so let me just add a few people, guys. Give me just 1 second. I got a few people trying to get into the group real fast. I want to just get them in. Give me just 1 second. You guys are just joining. We're just talking about some email management here. So let's get a few people trying to get in. Awesome. Sorry, we got a whole bunch of people joining at one time all of a sudden. Awesome. So let me share my screen again for you guys. So we're just walking through right now through email management. We're talking about doing something that we call, a lot of corporates call this file management. So we are building a file management. Now, what you have to remember here, guys, is the number one mistake I see people do when they give their virtual assistant their email account is they say the words, clean it up. Well, guys, there are 30,000 emails. There's a reason. I always say you have to introspect what you expect. And if you expect your VA to be able to clean it, why haven't you kept it clean in the last 5 years? And so we will go and build this to where we're giving very clear instructions. So business number one for me is Sphere Rocket VA. So I usually get lead generation emails. I get Sphere Rocket receipts. Different things like that. For a lot of us, obviously our business number one is, real estate sales. So you might have different subcategories within there. A lot of people will do transactions. So for like real estate sales, I have the same thing. I have lead generation emails. I have Nelson Real Estate Solutions, receipts. So that way it's very clear what are receipts for the Sphere Rocket business. And I know a lot of you guys have multiple businesses or you have rentals or different things like that. So that's kind of why we set this up. So this should all correlate to the way that your email account looks over here on the left side. And so this is something that when you build it the first time, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to have emails come in that don't look perfect. So the very first step is to obviously write out kind of what is your ideal world. Obviously, a lot of you guys will also have another section called transactions active. This is what we do a lot. And then we also have another section called transactions closed. And so let's say right now that I have 3 pending deals going on. And what we're going to do is we're going to create folders inside of my email account for all 3 of those. Now, the closed section is eventually where we will take these closed ones and we will put them once they're done. So we can move the folders from, they start off in active, so that way I can see all my active deals. Are there any new emails in there, etc. And then once that file closes, we can actually just take that file and then we can put it down here. A lot of people tell me, Justin, I don't do my transactions in my email because it gets overwhelming with how many I have. Well, just make it their own section for the closed section, and that's going to save you a lot of time. So this is kind of how we start to break it down. But one of the key steps that I didn't talk about before we got started, and this is kind of what changes everybody's life, because if you're looking at your screen right now, what you're probably looking at is several thousand emails at a minimum, and it looks too overwhelming to even get started. And so what we recommend you guys do to start is you guys do what we call a closed folder. So a closed folder is where you make it, and I'll kind of give you guys a name here. We call this the Justin Needs to Be Sorted folder. And so what we will do is if you've never done email management or you're just trying to have your virtual assistant do it, the very first step is to create a folder. And I'm going to write these out for you guys so you guys don't forget. Is step number 1, create a need to be sorted folder. And then what you're going to do is step number 2 is you are going to transfer every email in your inbox to this folder, okay? And so what that looks like is right now my email's gotten a little dirty. It's at 266 messages. That's really crazy for me. What I will do is I will just go over here, and you guys will see I have it somewhere. And if I don't, we'll make another one. But I'll basically just go down here, I'll create a new label, and I'll call this the Justin Needs to Be Sorted. And because what this is going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to take your entire inbox and immediately clean it up in just a few seconds. So watch this. I'm going to click all, and then I'm immediately going to move them over to the Justin Needs to Be Sorted, right? And if I move them over there, what that's going to do for me is it's immediately going to clear my inbox of all the emails that I have. And so what happens with that is now you and your virtual assistant can start off on the right foot. Now, a lot of people are like, well, Justin, they're not in my inbox anymore. That's correct, but they are still in your inbox. They're just in another folder. They would be under the Justin Needs to Be Sorted folder. So if you're looking for something from 4 years ago, you can just go under this folder and it's there. Now, eventually, the goal is to obviously clean this folder out. But the goal for you to get started on the right foot is we need to go as quick as possible down to 0. And from that will allow us to kind of start off on a fresh foot. So that's kind of step number 1 is we need to create a folder that's called the Need to Be Sorted folder. Step number 2 is we need to transfer every email in your folder to this inbox. So now you should theoretically have 0 emails in your main inbox. Because what this will allow you to do is now over the next 3 to I'd say roughly 15 days, you're basically each and every day, your goal is to get to 0 emails, right? Every email should have a place, or you should be maintaining under 15 to 20 emails in your inbox. So that way, when your virtual assistant's going throughout the day and they see, oh, wow, I got a Southwest receipt, it got put into Southwest, right? And now a lot of you guys are like, well, Justin, how do I know if it was important and I missed it? Well, you can still go over here and you can still see what, like for me, I haven't checked these 4 yet. So I can still go over there and it's clean, it's keeping everything up to date and the right order. So I just tell people that they overcomplicate email management. You need to build the roadmap for your team. Now, if I start getting a ton of emails, like I'll show you guys an example of this. I've been getting a ton of emails in the last year from a system called PandaDoc. PandaDoc is our system where we basically sign like 3,000 emails from the system. And a lot of you guys have this with like DocuSign and Dotloop or different things like that where to send you automated emails. Well, then that's when you would go into email management. You'd go, you know what, my inbox is just flooding with this. I'm going to create a new a new section called PandaDoc. And so we started off with a simple file mapping program like this, and it obviously eventually turned into all of these other, like Shireen used to send me hundreds of emails. Obviously inside of here, I just made it her own because I'm like, I just need those all to go here. Or, I send virtual assistant pay each and every week. I didn't want this cluttering my inbox. So that's when I came up with, oh, we also need to add a section for TransferWise. So, but most companies, and this is something, like I said earlier, that corporate worlds do, but we as small business owners, we don't do this. And so this isn't anything revolutionary, but it's also something that if you can implement, there's always a thing to go back to adjust and make that email clean. And so we call this email management. It's usually, a lot of companies call it file management rules. File management rules. I'll share this with you, but it's just an example. You as the employer need to create this to be able to give your VAs direction. If you let them create this, they could probably do a pretty good job, but it's still never going to be to the way your brain's wired, right? We want to put things in here the way your brain's wired and then adjust from there. If you let your VAs build it, their brains are wired differently than yours, right? We're all different people. So this is kind of where we start. Now, the other thing that a lot of people will do is this is the biggest tip and trick for the day. If you've never used this app before, it is called Unroll.me, UNWOLL.me, Unroll.me. What this does is it helps you clean your inbox. It's completely free. It's super awesome. And what you'll see here is it will keep track of all of your subscriptions. And so what I can do in here is I can go in here and I can unsubscribe. Like somehow I got subscribed to Mandy J. I have no clue who that is. That was probably a Facebook ad. That was probably something like that. But from that standpoint, like I don't know how, but I'm just going to unsubscribe from it so it doesn't come to my inbox. And so it takes all your subscriptions that you never even knew that you had, and it puts them into here. And so what this will immediately do is it's immediately going to take your inbox down immediately. Anybody else having the earthquakes right now? I saw like my entire team just said that they had massive earthquakes right this second. So anybody else is having that, feel free to make sure you're safe. So this is very easy to be able to unsubscribe, like GNC. I don't even know who Gary Jones is. Somehow I got subscribed to some doctor. Like, you guys can go in here and make sure that you are staying as clean as possible, because that will definitely help take off the full load of your virtual assistant managing an inbox as well. When you first get started, you'll see like we had like 480 subscriptions or something crazy. So now we're down to just 36. And because it's free, this is something that you guys can just log into every once in a while and check out. So nothing shattering here. Just wanted to show you guys how we do it. I personally can't tell you how you should or shouldn't do this, but build the file management rules. And then from there, everything else will kind of just fall into place. Now, a lot of people, what they'll do when they're first getting started is if the virtual assistant doesn't know where to put something, and that's not their fault, it's not your fault. There will be some emails where you're like, that doesn't fall into anything. We'll call this like the emergency category. Like it's just a tab where it's like, or, some people call it the I don't know category. Like it's just where we're putting emails that we don't know. And so what I'll do is I'll log in every month or so and I'll go look at the I don't know category, and I'll be like, oh, is there anything in there that we can create its own folder or storage for, or should we just go in there and delete it? So that saves me a ton of time doing it that way. So with that being said, we chose this topic to be a little bit lighter. Obviously, it's Christmas week. I know a lot of you guys are traveling, not working, or doing a little bit of R&R. So we didn't want to do anything too crazy, but I would definitely love to answer any questions when it comes to email management of different things. So feel free to fire away that. And while we're on this subject, I want to remind everybody of the app called Streak.com. If you've never used Streak, guys, please use Streak. It will solve so many of your problems. It's crazy. So if you guys use Streak, what will happen here? Let me see here. I'll show you guys kind of the main things and the main benefits of Streak is if you guys, by the way, if anybody uses Streak, feel free to let me know if you guys like it or not. But I'll give you an example here is if I open up my email account, and I know Brittany's on this call, so I'm going to mess with her. If I send an email to Brittany, I'm going to say, hey, sewer inspection, right? You know, really bad news. And then I'm going to say, please respond immediately, right, to make sure you got it. Now, if I send this to Brittany, what you're going to see down here at the bottom of my screen is there's this little I. Now, this little I means that email tracking is on, and that is what Streak does. So if I were to send this to Brittany, what I can do inside of my sent box now is I can go to Brittany and I can look at this email that I just sent her. So it will say Streak and it will say 0 views. It tracks the email and will let me know the moment that Brittany opens that email. Now, we do this because now you can know when other people are ignoring you. Like if Brittany opens this now and then she doesn't respond, that's fine. I'm not saying she has to respond right now. And then she opens it at midnight and then she opens it tomorrow and then she looks at it again. Like I can catch agents that are very big into procrastination and they're just not, or they're just looking at it, they're procrastinating, giving you an answer, and I'll just call them up and be like, hey, I saw you've opened my email like 5 times since yesterday. Are we gonna get an answer or are you just gonna keep ignoring me? But then the opposite will also happen where it's like Brittany just didn't open it, right? So now I know, and this saves me a ton of time, she's not ignoring me. She just didn't open it, right? Maybe she has bad email management. Maybe it got lost in the mix and shuffle. And so now I can do extra due diligence, or me as the virtual assistant or whoever's in charge of this can do extra due diligence to see like, where is Brittany in the process? Like, and so you guys can see here, it will tell me that she opened it 1 minute ago. So it turns it and shows this. Now, most of the time it will show a location. Sometimes it doesn't. But this kind of allows me to just kind of know, oh, she opened it at 12:22. So just wanted to share that with you guys. That is does super well. So it won't track it if you sent something through CTME. I think CTME has its own tracking software, I believe. I haven't used CTME in a year or two, but I'm pretty sure CTME has its own tracking software that you can turn on whether or not someone has opened an email or not. So yes, Streak does work on Google mobile as well. So you definitely can use it on all of those. So the other thing that I like about Streak is if you're composing an email, this is something that one of my friends does all the time. She sleeps in a lot. And so she's like, will wake up at like 8 or 9 a.m. and she doesn't want her clients to know that. And so she'll go in here and she'll turn on you can also do like a schedule send with Streak. So you can schedule to send this in the future, which I really like. Gmail, I believe, has a feature on it, but it's just really easy to do through Streak, where you can just pick a send date into the future. So I can send tomorrow at, tomorrow afternoon, and it will send that message, which is really cool because with it, it allows you to pre-prep messages. Like if I'm going to send a message where I know someone's going to get like upset or they're not going to like my answer or whatever it may be, then I'm going to obviously schedule it for a time. I'm not going to send it now because I know they'll be calling my phone off the hook. I'm just going to schedule it to send in 2 hours. So yeah, so that is kind of what I would recommend as far as that goes. So that is all I really have on email management, guys. It's a nice, easy, quick subject. Should be something that if you can set up your file management system and just kind of make a roadmap for your virtual assistants, it's something that you should never really have to do again. Put in the hour of work to make a good file system, so that way it saves you hundreds of hours in the future. If you were like me, for the first few years that I had virtual assistants, I just kind of like, for lack of better terms, like I just kind of half-assed it. Like I just kind of did it halfway. Like, and I was just kind of like, oh yeah, make a folder that looks like this. And we just never had a clean system. And it never felt like I truly got that piece of my business leverage. And then once my coach taught me, Justin, sit down for 20 seconds, build a file management rules, build on it over time. That's when I truly felt like we started to get our email management handed off and actually able to be used. So I dropped a little copy in the chat box for you guys if you guys want a copy of our little example we did there. But with that being said, I'll turn it over to you guys for any questions that you guys have on this subject. More than happy to deep dive, best practices, specific situations, anything like that. If you guys have anything if you want to cover. If you guys have never been on any of our Q&A calls or masterclass calls, a reminder, our masterclass calls are every Monday at this time, and these are purely subject-based calls where we have a subject pre-planned for everybody, so that way no one has to think of anything. We can just knock out one subject a week after 52 weeks. We're a lot smarter as a group. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I obviously only suggest you come on to those calls if you have questions, whether big questions, small questions. If you don't have questions, I obviously wouldn't recommend that you jump on those calls from the standpoint of, I don't know who else will be on or what their questions are or if they pertain to you. So that would be kind of my advice there. So with that being said, I am going to turn it over to you guys for any questions around email management. But just to recap, file management rules, use unenroll.me and use Streak, and your life inside of your emails will become a lot better.
Hey, Justin, do you do anything with like automatically forwarding specific emails to your VAs or to specific folders? Because I know there's a way to set up rules in Gmail, and this is like, you are speaking to me, because I've got about 6,500 unfiled emails. So
yeah, no, absolutely. So yes and no. So well, let's kind of talk about what I call automation roles. So this is what Jackie's talking about. If you guys don't know that this exists, the best way to learn about this, because I'll just be honest with you guys, I won't make a video on this because I don't really believe in it too much, but I also think it could be awesome because we do have some of this. So I'll give you guys an example of this, automation rules. So if I went back to my email, if I went back to my inbox here and I went to down here, the PandaDoc section where you guys see these hundreds and thousands of I mean, just in the last like 10 days, I've had like 20 of these. What you can do is you basically, when PandaDoc, just to show you guys to make sure you guys don't get lost in the tech here, when PandaDoc sends an email to my Gmail account, I can set up a rule inside of the settings that says, hey, every time an email from, if I were to open this up and I looked at the email, okay, every time an email from docs@email comes up, so whatever that is, docs@pandadoc.com, I can set it up in the settings to automatically put itself in a folder. So if I had a folder already named PandaDocs, you can set it up to automatically just skip your inbox and go directly into that folder. So like now, every day I get these inside of PandaDoc, everything automatically goes in here. This will never come to my inbox, ever. They'll always go to PandaDoc. Now, I really highly suggest that you don't do anything important. So I'll give you guys an example. An example like this where I get a million emails from PandaDoc and they're all super important, but I don't really need to like look at them or view them. I just need to keep them. I will do this. So you can set up an automation rule for this. Now, I'll tell you where I've made mistakes. I had once set up a rule because Shireen sends me a lot of emails each and every day. I set up a rule that said, hey, every time that Shireen is sent an email, you know, from Gmail, it comes to my Gmail and it says Shireen on it, I want you to put that into a folder. And I called the folder the Shireen folder. Now, what happened is I made a big mistake here, is since our rules for you guys are kind of like not to email me and email her with all your problems or wishes and desires, just so I don't list them. What happened is our clients, you know, let's say you, Jackie, you would write an email to us and you'd go and you'd follow our instructions. Hey, I'm going to email this to Shireen. I'm going to email Paige. I'm going to email Kristen. And then what would happen is as soon as you sent this email to us and you copied me on it as well, the email would automatically skip my inbox and it would go directly into this folder. And so what would happen is I still like to read those emails, even though I'm not really going to respond to them. I still want to read them and kind of have a pulse on what's going on and what people need. And so when I use the automation rules, everything was skipping my inbox and going straight to a folder. So I'd come into my inbox and then I would all of a sudden look down here inside of like PandaDoc or inside of like Paige's email, and there would just be like hundreds of emails that I had missed and thought I should read. And so I would hesitate against using too much automation. But like I know like Jackie, like my dad's team up in Colorado, they use automation to take all of their CTME notifications and they automatically just throw that into a folder inside of Gmail that's called, whatever it may be, CTME, signature acknowledgements, different things like that. So I'd say, yes, we do use some of that, but it's only with the ones that give us a ton of emails that are important that we use any automation on. Too much automation on that would be a bad thing because you sometimes lose track of it.
Cool, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anytime. What else, guys? Anything else on the side of email management? Anything at all. Email management can be very simple, but it can also be very, very complicated if not done right.
Hey, Justin.
Yeah, how's it going?
Good, good. Hey, just assuming your email's already cleaned up, about how many hours a week do you think your VA spends on managing your email?
Great question. So yeah, great question. So a lot of people ask me this, and this is kind of funny, and this is why. So I want to be very clear with you guys. This is super important. I love this question. And if you guys are virtual assistants on here, we use Screenshot Monitor for two things. Number one, we use Screenshot Monitor for the hours you're working to make sure that if you're working, you're getting paid. Number two, I use Screenshot Monitor so I can set expectations and help you be better at your job. And so to answer your question, Phil, I would like to just pull it out and go, you know what? It should be an hour. It should be 7 hours. That would be kind of not very professional of me to pull an answer. So what I'll do is I will go into my email account or into my Screenshot Monitor, and I'll go look at Paige to see, because Paige, what she does inside of her Screenshot Monitor is she'll actually break down her task into hours and she'll tell me what she's doing. So if I look at last week, she was spent probably 30 minutes one day. If I go into, I actually had her stop it for a week, but I can go in here and I can see all of the activities where she's doing things. So like for us, cleaning up appointment trackers. I mean, I'm taking 5 to 15 appointments per day right now with clients. And so for her to spend about 2 hours for 5 to 15 appointments a day is what she's basically spending. For here, you can see that she said that day she spent 55 minutes clearing emails. So that was an hour. And we're doing about 50 clients a month right now is what we're averaging for our business. So with that being said, an hour is what she spends now. This is obviously probably like 6 weeks, or she's about 4 to 6 months in with us. So that's where she's at now. I would say in the beginning, depending on how many emails you have coming in, I would say an hour or less a day would be well within reason, especially if it's already clean. Because if you think about a clean inbox, on your roughest of days, if you don't have any subscriptions at all, and that's the key, get rid of the subscriptions. I would say 30 to 45 minutes a day would probably be plenty to a lot. But that's something that you can always look at. So if I wanted to go here, I can click on the section of the day where she said she was clearing emails, and I can jump in here and I can kind of give her a little bit of like feedback and go, all right, so I see that for 25 minutes, when you started, we were at 279 emails. And then when we went down here, we were at 249. Why did we not get more cleared? The answer could be, well, because of this or that, whatever the thing may be. So that kind of allows me to give some coaching, be more effective, things like that. So Point number one, make sure you guys are using Screenshot Monitor because it will just help you make your team more effective. And if you guys are the virtual assistants, make sure that you guys are filling this out for all the different tasks you're doing, because for us as employers to help you make more money, the more money we make, the more money you'll make. And so if you help us kind of track your day, we will absolutely love that, because it's going to help us give you better tasks, quicker tasks, more effective tasks. And I even use this to, that's actually how we found Unenroll Me. In full transparency, is I was like, why are we spending 2 hours a day clearing emails? And she's like, well, Justin, it's because every single night after 5 o'clock, you go home and play on Facebook for an hour and you sign up for like 500 subscriptions, dude. Like that's your fault. And now it's like, oh yeah, you're right. So now every day we'll just go unsubscribe from them. So 30 minutes to an hour is what I would obviously put on the upper end. But, and if you've already got it clean, start with 30 minutes a day and see what you can get knocked out.
I just got my first email with a weekly Screenshot Monitor report, and it had the number of hours and then the activity level. What is that activity percentage, reporting, and what should we be aiming for? Like, what's an acceptable level?
Yeah, so I don't really have an acceptable, like, we don't really tell the virtual assistants, and obviously a lot of them are on here too, so you guys can listen to this. The activity level really doesn't matter to me as much as what is getting done. So I'll give you an example of this. Let me go look at someone on my team that doesn't have a high activity level. For example, someone that would not have a high activity is Alden. Because look at this, he is, in this case, he's training a whole bunch of virtual assistants. And so when he's in training mode, you're going to see right here these little dots. These little dots show how active their mouse is at any given moment during the day. Now, when he's sitting in here and monitoring chat rooms and doing things like that, I expect for his chat room or for his activity level to be super low, because he's just sitting there watching videos, right? Like here, he's in here watching videos about helping you.
Are you sharing your screen right now? I'm sorry, I don't see anything.
Oh, no, you're totally good. Thank you for letting me know I'm not. So like, for example, this is where the employers make mistakes. They look at it and they go, oh my God, we're missing, Alden's only done 20%. But when you watch this, look at this. It shows that he's not active, but he's watching a video. So the activity level is tracking his mouse movement, and it's not tracking his education. And so if I were not looking at it the right way, I'd be like, Alden, you didn't do anything for the first hour today. It showed 0% activity. But I can very clearly see he's just watching one of the training videos that he was prepping to give to one of our clients. And so that's why I really don't do much on the activity level, because when he's training VAs, he's reading slides to them and doing things like that. So like, it makes sense that he's not doing that. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So it depends on, now if your job is like, for example, to do database entry work like all day long, then yes, I'd be like, all right, we need to hit like 70% activity level during the times that you are active on your spreadsheet, right? Like, yeah, I don't want you to type in one row and come back an hour later and type in another one. But a lot of our VAs have work where, for example, when I'm designing something on Canva, what's going to be big is when I design something on Canva, I do it and then I step back and I look at it. Does it look good? What do I need to change? And when you think about that in your head, how active is your mouse? Well, my mouse isn't that active when I'm doing Canva. It might be for 30%. And so we used to mandate like a percentage that the VAs need to be active. And then what we realized over time is roles vary so much that the percentage doesn't have any specific indication on whether they're doing their job or not. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, but I would worry about if you log in and look at your screenshots and it's just the screen's not moving, and then they're like, why'd you spend 3 hours on the same screen? Like, that's more of what I would look at. And I know a lot of people are like, Justin, I don't have time to go look at it. Just go look at it. You're not looking at it to confirm anything. You're just looking at it to help them be more effective and do their job better. So that way everybody can make more money. Great question.
VA has a double screen. It doesn't
What's
track
that?
the screens. If your VA has double screens, double monitors.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't track both screens, just a heads up.
Yeah, that is correct. So for my team, I will have them always be using, for the most part, one screen on their screenshot monitor. Screenshot monitor can track both screens if the settings are done right on the computer. It's not something that most virtual assistants know how to do, to change their settings. So for me, a lot of my team has double screen. I don't really care as long as I'm seeing all the work that needs to be get done. You know, if they're using double screens, one screen shouldn't just be. I tell them on my team, keep your most active screen, the one that you're doing the majority of your work on the screenshot monitor software. But yeah, of course, you know, it's kind of like having an iPad sitting next to you. You know, could I be texting my girlfriend on the iPad and it wouldn't be on the screenshot monitor? Absolutely, because I don't really care to screenshot that. But yes, especially your virtual assistants that have double screens, that's actually a good thing. Like double screens are good because it makes people more effective. Like if I didn't have 3 screens in front of me right now, I know my income would be 50% less. Like that sounds weird to a lot of people, but without having double screens, I truly believe my income would be 50% less because I'm that much more, or I'm that much less productive without multiple screens. So yeah, screenshot monitor only does one of them. So I always tell my VAs put it on the most active one. And you know, I expect to not just see one screen. And if your VA keeps telling you it's because they have double screens, it's not an excuse because you use double screens to be able to use both screens. You don't use double screens to let one sit blank all day and the other one be super active. So that's definitely something that I always tell my team from the start of how we handle that.
And I'd say, just to add real quick, if somebody does say that they don't have time to look at the screenshot monitor, it's like 30 seconds to 90 seconds. Yeah, like at least then you know, hey, they're on the right stuff. And what I like, it feels so empowering when I can look through that and be like, you know what, I had to digitally learn with my first grader and take care of my preschooler, and I had to do lunches all of a sudden, you know, and I'm getting so much done still. And so I look through it going, rock on, VA. Like I love seeing the productivity. It may not be
absolutely.
Normal world, but I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And on that same point that you just brought up there, I'll show you guys something here. And a lot of people don't tie these things together, which is, I think, why I want to tie this in real fast, is let me pull open an example of a 411 that a lot of people use for their VAs. And let me just pull open an example here. If you guys don't have one of these, I actually use a screenshot monitor to do what we call an open check on this. So I'm going to share my screen again, somewhere in here. Awesome. All right. So the 411. So whenever I do annual goals, you know, I'm going to make this very simple. If I'm going to do an annual goal for my social media VA, I'm going to do, you know, I want 240 posts a year, right? Posts per year on my, I want those 240 to go onto my LinkedIn, Facebook page, you know, my Instagram, whatever it is, right? And so what we'll do is we'll break that down and we'll go, awesome. So the monthly goal is I need 20 of those, right? So 20 posts. Then what I'll do is I'll go down to the weekly goals and go, awesome, I need 4 of those posts. Now, when you're using Screenshot Monitor the right way, you know, I can go, awesome. So when we're looking at this week, 5 posts for the week. Now, if I'm doing it right, I should go, how much should one post take per day? Let's just say 30 minutes, right? So if that's the case, I've now, what I can do is we can always refer back in our weekly reviews or our daily huddles, and I can go, okay, Paige, you are in charge of doing the 5 posts for the week. It's Friday. It's Friday's huddle at 8 a.m. 15 minutes. I'm going to open everybody's 411s. 5 posts for the week. Awesome. Let's look, Paige, real fast. How long did it take you on Tuesday to do your 5 posts? Like if I were to go look at my social media manager, Jan here, I could go and look at, he's off today, but I could go to last week and I could go, how long did it take him? You know, posting them just on social media. It took him 3 minutes that day. Awesome, right? Posting, you know, doing these different things. So we can kind of see the entire length of it. But I always will compare that back to my 411. So kind of about Jennifer's point there, you know, it's a great way just to go, awesome, are we getting the things done that we need to get done? And how long are they taking? Because sometimes, like, I think it should take them an hour to do it, and then they only end up taking 15 to 20 minutes to do it. I'm like, awesome, I can actually give you more tasks than I thought. Or the opposite, we give our virtual assistant a task that we think is only 15 to 20 minutes long, and then it ends up being an hour and a half long, and we just had the wrong expectation. It might actually take an hour and a half and not 20 minutes. And when we know that, we can build a better week right here. So a reminder, the 411 is in your course. I actually, funny enough, I just did a survey. 85% of those that have requested a replacement do not have a 411. So just an interesting little fact of our program. 85% did not have a 411 in place. So great.
That's a good reminder for me. I started with a 411 and then we kind of went in a different direction. That it's probably time to update that. And because I mean, it's like a new toy. You don't know exactly what to do with it. And she's so much better than I was expecting. So I'm gonna update that here this probably next 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, in 2021 is obviously, I always tell people this is a great excuse to re-goal set, to realign the expectations, to sit down, make financial goals, get the goals of your VA, tell the VA your goals. And, it's another time for a lot of us to just go, what worked this year with my VA? What did they do great? What did they not do great? And just kind of reevaluate as an employer, like what do I want them to do consistently for the entire next year? Because that's where a lot of your benefit comes, is when you consistently do something over time, and not just so much at one given moment. So love that. Love that. Anybody else, feel free. I got plenty of time here. So if you guys got any other random questions, we can turn it into a mini Q&A as well. I obviously just put the caveat that obviously people's VAs are on here as well for the masterclass. So obviously ask your questions with that in mind.
Hey, Justin.
Hey.
First, obviously, it's my first video here. So you're saying you bring your VAs on these meetings too? Great
question. Yeah, great question. So Phil, on Mondays, we have master classes. That's where all the VAs can come on with you. Predetermined subjects that are in the Facebook group, which I saw your message. I'll make sure to get you approved. Yeah. I think your address may have been missing a letter, which is why it wasn't approved, because they want to make sure that because as soon as we hit approved, we lose that. So I'll get you approved of that. But every Monday we have a master class, pre-scheduled 90 days out, what the subjects are. You and the VAs are allowed to go on that. Inside of your course that you have, there's a link to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday calls that are at 12 p.m. Central. That is for you only as the employer. So you can come ask questions like, Justin, how would you do this? Or I got 2 today. How would I bonus my VAs, right? Or how would I, how do I properly handle something that's not going well? Those are calls where on Tuesday, I'm on those for the Q&A. Personally, and then Wednesday and Thursday, Kristen takes the Q&A calls for any of your admin, coaching, training requests that you have. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as well at 1 p.m. Central, Kristen does a call every day with your VAs for a Q&A call. No one is mandated to go to any of those. The VA is yours, just like you on the employer call. We obviously recommend you only come to those if you have questions or you want some one-on-one time with Kristen or myself to attack a certain subject or problem or positive or whatever you have going on in your world.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of call it 4 days of, and a lot of people on this call come to those calls every once in a while. So most of them can kind of tell you, it usually turns into a one-on-one because, even if we're placing 50 clients a month, 5 to 10 of those will show up at any given day. And so then it ends up really just being a whatever you need type of call.
Got it.
And I think when you're getting started too, it helped me just to come in and listen to other people's questions, because there's so much more that as a collective group we can think about then. And again, Justin just shows up 100% and 110% every time. So it was kind of cool. I may not have a question that day, but I could pop on, see if it applied to me, pop back off. Her and I are starting to cruise a little faster on our own now, but I thought, okay, I need to jump back in on these because I want to tweak and perfect. And, I think it's a good, as you're getting started, if your schedule allows, go ahead and drop some in, even if you don't have a specific question, I would suggest.
Yep. No, I love that. Love that. Well, awesome, guys. Anybody else got anything question-wise before we kind of log off here? I know I got another meeting to run to here in a few minutes, but you guys, if you guys have any questions, let us know. Tuesdays, obviously, it goes without saying, Thursday's mastermind call or Q&A call is canceled with Christmas Eve. I'm not going to make my team work that. But tomorrow and Wednesday, we have Q&A calls for any of you guys that need that. And then just a reminder, obviously, it's COVID season, so the thing I'm about to tell you right now, and we haven't really announced it to everybody yet, but January 14th through the 17th, I am hosting a private mastermind in Scottsdale, Arizona. It is meant to be small and intimate. We don't want a 200-person event, obviously, during the state of the world. But if anybody does have interest, that is January 14th through the 17th. Just message me for details. It is in Scottsdale. And we will still be hosting a big Sphere Rocket event that will be way more planned out than just a month and a half notice at the end of 2020. Obviously, hashtag coronavirus pending, it being more safe for more people to travel and obviously events being able to be held. But if anybody does want a getaway R&R mastermind, we will be doing that through the 14th through 17th of January 21 in Scottsdale, Arizona. I know a few of you guys on here are already signed up. We rented a 12,000 square foot house. There's like 10 bedrooms in it. So a lot of us will be staying on site. We have a few people staying off site as well. But it's just an environment for us to come mastermind. And we have some cool things. We have several people's VAs who are managing hundreds of transactions a month are going to be in attendance teaching. And we'll just be kind of doing some cool options as far as that goes. So definitely feel free to let me know if you guys have interest in that. And if not, we will obviously see you at one of our bigger, more accessible, more time and health-friendly events down the road. So yeah, I think that's all I have for today, guys. Ari, I do believe, I don't want to promise you yet if we'll be streaming it. I have a strong suspicion we will be streaming it to the group. So that is 100% in the intention. As long as we don't have any house rules or anything that prevent that, I would absolutely do everything in my power to stream that event to everybody. If at a minimum, if we can't stream it because we don't want to worry about technology, I would for sure at least record it and let it be seen. So yep, definitely can definitely get that for you guys as well. Obviously, as most people know, a more large majority of masterminding happens between just talking about, talking outside of the main event with people. That's where, usually I get all of my extra value is getting some one-on-one time with people I normally wouldn't. But as far as the main, as long as like the main gist of the material of who's teaching, I will definitely get that streamed for all of you guys. No problem.
Pardon. Just a question.
Yeah.
Where could I? Are these recorded and are the recordings on the website?
They are. So you have. Do you have access to your VA portal?
I'm not sure yet, but I'm gonna check.
Perfect. If you don't,
Probably
just shoot a
talk
message.
to the.
Yeah, you're good. Just post in your private Facebook group chat.
Sharon.
Perfect. Yeah, they'll
Okay.
make sure that you have access to it. And
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, you're very welcome. They're under there's a big label called past recorded calls inside of there. And I'll have this one up in the next 20 minutes or so. Into there. Yeah, no problem.
Oh, all right.
Great question. Well, awesome, guys. Well, if you guys don't have anything else, I'm going to log out here. I'm going to run off to my next meeting. If you guys come across anything, let me know. Jessica, thank you. I also just saw your email. You probably saw it on the screen too. We appreciate the connection, and I will definitely email you back real fast, Jessica. So appreciate everybody coming on here. I know a few of your faces I'm seeing in Scottsdale in January. So look forward to that, and see you guys on tomorrow's Q&A call. And as always, post away in the Facebook group, ask me all the questions you guys got. And Phil, I just clicked accept for you. So you are now a member of the Facebook group. Feel free to use that as much as you possibly can. That's obviously a great place to learn a lot of off the wall best practices for virtual assistants. So
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, awesome, guys. Well, if you guys have any other questions, we'll be off for the day, and have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And we will see you guys either tomorrow or next week.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Happy
Yes.
holidays, everyone.
Yes, absolutely. See you.